to the Diet Rebellion training number 1. You made it, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are kicking off a transformational experience, and I hope that you're ready for it. Now, the chat is already starting to go with all the women that we have around the world ready to do things differently, get different results, and become a successful version of yourself. And I am thrilled that I get to facilitate that for you. There is nothing more exciting than standing on the edge of possibility. Kathy gave me a woot. That's exactly right, Kathy. And that's where you're standing right now. I promise you, if you stick with me over the next 3 trainings, you are going to have the ability to look back and have that be a pivotal fork in the road for yourself. Like you can look back and say, hey, that's the moment that things started to change for me. So why are we doing this? Why did I create this series? I work with a lot of women who want to lose fat. They want to build muscle, they want to change their body composition, they want to have a better relationship with food, they want to have a better relationship with their body. And they feel like they don't know how to do it. And maybe that's some of you who are listening. And when I ask women how they feel about their body and about food, I get 3 very common responses. The first one is they feel stuck, or they feel frustrated, or they feel confused. And maybe you feel similarly. So I wanted to dive in and dig in a little deeper into why women feel this way. And so about a month ago, I put up on my Instagram stories a question. And this was the question: what's your current goal? And everybody answered. We got a lot of responses, and kind of predictably, about 61% of my audience said they wanted to lose fat, 21% said they wanted to gain muscle, 14% said they wanted a better relationship with food, and 5% said that they wanted to improve their health markers. So there wasn't a whole lot of surprise in that. But then the next question that I asked was the really important one. And that was, be honest. What's holding you back? Why haven't you reached that goal yet? And the answers started flooding in, and very, very quickly I noticed a very clear pattern. And it was this. Over and over and over again, I got messages of, I'm not consistent. I start and then I stop. I'm not motivated. I'm too lazy. I can't keep going. I start strong, life happens, and I'm right back where I started before. So a lot of times people come to me and they ask me what they should eat. Or they say, Amber, what should I do? What do I do next? And listen, I have lots of ideas for you. We'll talk about that. We'll get into nutrition. We'll get into all those things during the trainings. But while I have insight into that, I think that this is more important. This is a more valuable question that I can answer for you, is why do sometimes we know what to do and yet we don't do it? So we need to be asking really good questions. So the question is really twofold that we're going to be talking about over the next 3 trainings. Yes, one is, how do you improve your nutrition? That's a question that a lot of people want to know. They want to know how to work with their body. They want to know how to fuel their body better. They want to know how to improve their body composition and improve their health. That's important. And how do you do it consistently? And that, to me, is the linchpin, because that is what's going to make a difference long-term in your life. And as I've been interacting with women in the Facebook group and women on my Instagram account, this is the linchpin for so many of you. Is why do I start and then I stop? And here's why consistency feels so hard for so many of us, and why it's also the key to everything that you want. And that is the fact, and this was actually a research study that was done by Cornell University, and they found that you make over 226 food decisions in a day. That is a lot of decisions. And that means you have 226 opportunities where you're either moving towards your goal or further away from it. It's no wonder that consistency feels overwhelming. But here's what's exciting. When you finally have the right approach, each of those 226 decisions becomes a little bit easier. And those decisions, every time you make a decision, they impact your energy levels, your body composition, your health, your longevity, your confidence. This is exactly why I created the Diet Rebellion. Because when you're making 226 decisions a day about food, what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, who to eat with, you need more than just willpower to rely on. You actually need a system. And so when you have the right tools, that makes a difference. But when you have the right tools and the right mindset, girl, we are off to the races. So this is our goal for the Diet Rebellion. This is why I put this whole thing together, to help you have the right tools for your goal and for you to have the right mindset for your goal. Now, I see a lot of people who have a mismatch of tools and mindset. So sometimes I see women who have the right tool and they're utilizing the tool with the wrong mindset. We're going to talk about that a lot on training number 2. This is a huge problem that I see. You're doing some of the right things, but you're doing it with the wrong mindset, and you're never gonna get the results you want with that combination. And then we have women who are utilizing the wrong tools with the right mindset. But again, it's a mismatch. You're never gonna be successful there. This is probably where most people fall, which is that they're using the wrong tool and the wrong mindset. Now, if this is you, no shame here. What's really awesome about this is that you have almost the most to grow. You have the most that can change over the next 3 trainings because, man, when we fix the tool and the mindset, boom, you're off to the races. And that's my goal, is to help you get here. The right tool with the right mindset, that pair together is going to change everything. So here's how we're going to do that together over the next 3 trainings. Training number 1, which is today, we're going to talk about what doesn't work and why. Now, why do we start here? Because what doesn't work is very, very seductive. It's very alluring. It's like the ex that you know you shouldn't go back to, but it's just so familiar that it's so easy to fall back into it. And so we have to talk about why that isn't going to work, why it's never going to work, and why we need to finally just close that door and walk away. And then in training number 2, we're going to talk about, okay, when we know what doesn't work, we can start to focus on our attention and our energy and our effort on what does work. So we're going to talk about what is the right tool, what is the right mindset, and why is that going to make the difference in helping you to be able to reach your health and fitness goals. And then in training number 3, we're going to put it all together and talk about how are you going to make that happen? How are you going to integrate this into your life so that you can be more successful? So I dove just straight in because I'm very excited. I'm very excited for what's going to come. I'm very excited for how the things that I'm going to teach you over the next 3 trainings are really going to change the game for you. But before we dive any further into content, I need to take a step back and I want to introduce myself because I don't believe that you are here by accident. I don't believe that you stumbled into my orbit just on a whim. I've seen over and over and over that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I firmly believe that you are here for a reason. So to introduce myself, my name is Amber Brueseke, and I am the founder of Macros 101. I am the host of one of the top fitness podcasts. Many of you guys know me from my podcast, Biceps After Babies Radio. A lot of you guys probably listen to the podcast. I am a registered nurse. I worked as a critical care nurse. I am a personal trainer. I am a menopause coaching specialist. So for all my perimenopausal women, hey, I see you. I am also a master certified transformational macro coach. So I have all of the accolades, all of the letters behind my name, but what really sets me apart and what really qualifies me to show up and teach you today is that I've done this over and over and over again. And over the last 10 years, I've helped over 10,000 women break free from the cycle that many of you are stuck in of starting and stopping and restarting. Now, if you talk to any of my Macros 101 clients, they will tell you that my superpower isn't just teaching about food and teaching about nutrition. I can do that. What really sets me apart is my ability to be able to help clients get to the root of what is keeping them stuck and to help them get unstuck. Now, I want to point out that at least a part of you is here because at least a part of you believes that change is possible. And I think that's really important to point out because many of you are coming here with a history past, a cemetery of sorts of things that you've tried and haven't been successful. And if you were at the point where you just didn't think success was possible for you, where it was impossible for you to get the results, you would stop coming to things like this. You would stop consuming free content and you would just close that door and walk away. But you didn't. You're here. We're here together, which means a part of you believes that you can be successful. And over the next 3 trainings, we're going to tap into that part of you that knows that there's something different out there, that knows that there's something there that can help you to finally be successful in reaching the goals that you have set for yourself. All right, let me introduce you very quickly to my very favorite emoji. It's the mind blown emoji. So the mind blown emoji to me represents a breakthrough. And it is my goal to facilitate as many breakthroughs as possible for you as you listen to the trainings. Now, in order to do that, we have to talk a little bit about how breakthroughs are created. So when we talk about things that we know, there are 4 different types of knowledge. Number 1, there are things that you know that you know. These are things you've already learned, okay? Maybe you know how to surf. Maybe you know how to cook a really great pancake, okay? These are things that are solidly in the I know how to do this piece. Then we have what you know that you don't know. These are gaps in your knowledge that you're already aware of. Maybe you don't know how to eat more fiber. Maybe you don't know how to utilize PowerPoint. So when there are gaps in your knowledge that you're aware of, you can go Google them, you can go seek out resources, you can go to YouTube, and you can go find the answers. Then we have the 3rd type of knowledge, which is what you don't know that you know. These are subconscious. This is subconscious knowledge. It's like how I'm able to speak English as a native English speaker, and I could not tell you a single grammatical rule that I am following because it's subconscious. I don't actually know it, but I know it. That's all fine and dandy. Great. 3 types of knowledge. This last bit is where I like to play. This is the sandbox that I love to play in. And this is what you don't know that you don't know. This is blind spot territory. This is the stuff you aren't even aware exists. It's the knowledge that you didn't even know that you were missing. And this is when breakthroughs happen. This, my friends, is what I do best. My goal is to answer questions that you didn't even know that you had. To point out things that you didn't even know that you were missing. Close gaps that you didn't even know were open. So in order to do this, we have to talk a little bit about expectations. Because my guess is you're human, so you're coming here with some certain expectations about what I'm going to teach and what I'm going to cover and what it's going to do. And this is my request of you. My request of you is to empty your cup. What does that mean? Well, what happens if you have an already full teacup and you try to pour something into it? It overflows. And it's really, really easy to come to trainings like this with an expectation, with your cup already full, saying, Amber, I've already tried this. Amber, I've already learned this. Amber, I already know this. And then I'm unable to pour anything new into it. So, just for the next 3 trainings, I'm asking you to set all of that aside. Set your expectations aside of what you think that you should learn during these trainings, because that's knowledge that you know that you can just go Google. And sit back and relax into learning the things you didn't know you didn't know. And that's where breakthroughs will happen. Now, the moment that you get a breakthrough, my request for those of you who are here live is to drop the mind blown emoji into the chat. 2 reasons for this. 1, it gives me a little bit of feedback so that I know, hey, it's landing, right? I'm doing a good job communicating this to them. The second is it becomes a little bookmark for you of like, that was the moment. That was a thing that I want to remember, that I want to reprogram into my brain. I want to take that with me. We already have so many mind-blown emojis. That's amazing. I love it. You guys are so great. So my goal, to create as many breakthroughs for you. And in order to do that, all I need you to do is empty your cup, show up empty and ready and willing to learn what it is that I have to teach you. Now, for those of you who like what you learn, and who want to continue the breakthrough, want to continue the transformation train, at the end of the series, I will be opening up doors to my signature program, Macros 101. I do both. I give immense value in the 3 trainings that we're going to go through. and you're gonna have a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of transformation. And I can't teach you everything that I know in 3 trainings. So for those of you who want to continue, for those of you who like what you have learned, I will be inviting you into Macros 101 at the end of training 3. I don't want anybody sitting here being like, is she gonna sell me something? Yes, I am. And it's going to be amazing, and the next 3 trainings are also going to be amazing. Those of you who want to keep going, who like me, who like my coaching style, who think that working with me will help you to be able to further your transformation, you'll be invited in with open doors. All right, let's start with a somewhat obvious question, but I'm going to be reading in the chat because I really want to know your answer. What is your current goal? Right? You're showing up here because there is a goal that you're trying to hit. So what is it for you? Mona said fat loss. Yeah, lose 20 pounds. Julianne, good. We have decreased body fat, lose fat, body recomp, stop obsessing over food. That's fantastic. Build 15 pounds of muscle. Improve consistency, get ripped. Heck yeah, I love that. A quality of life for me and my kids, better health. Look like I work out. I saw that one, that was a good one. Lose weight, feel powerful, and then be able to stay in maintenance. Love that. Know what to eat, actually stick to it. Awesome. Get my belly gone, fantastic. Okay, second question for you is how long have you been working on this goal? My guess is that you didn't just wake up yesterday and are like, this is the goal today. So how long? 5+ years, 10 years, forever, decades, 2 to 3 years? Okay, I don't even think I've seen one that's like less than a year. Decades, always, years, 2 years. Like literally, I'm scanning through the chat right now and I have not seen anything, maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen anyone. Someone said 4 months. That's like the shortest I've seen. But for most of you, you've been working on this for a very long time. So hopefully I'm able to, and I feel very confident that I'll be able to add something that will be helpful for you in reaching your goal over the next 3 trainings. Now, when you think about my goal, I want you to think about, okay, we have a tool to reach your goal and we have a mindset to be able to reach your goal, right? My goal is to give you both. So let's first start with talking about the tools that we utilize. What do you think when somebody is looking to improve their nutrition? What do you think is the most common tool that people go to in order to do that? Anybody? No sugar, macros, track calories, calorie counting, nutrition labels, eating less. Essentially, a lot of what you guys are saying is diets. We can just sum that all up into diets. That is the most common tool that we utilize. And I think we need to talk a little bit about why. Like, why do we tend to go there? Now, before I explain that, let me give you a definition of what I mean when I say a diet. Because this is the diet rebellion, right? What are we rebelling against? We gotta rise up. What are we rising up against? So when I say a diet, in the olden days, I say olden days, like 10 years ago, diets used to be named, right? You had paleo, you had Atkins, you had Weight Watchers. So it was very clear. It was like, this is a diet. This is the name of the diet. In the more recent years, we've kind of gotten away from like the named diets and we've gone more in towards generic ways to eat. Like it's still structured, it's still restrictive, it's still like you need to eat this, but we do things like timed feedings, or we do things like cutting carbs or lowering carbs or things like that. So when I say the word diet, what I'm saying and what we're rebelling against is one, anything that's not customized to you. To where like if you and your friend were gonna do it, it would be like the same thing for you guys. And the second thing is that it has rules about what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat. Rules that you need to follow. Now, why do we go so easily? Why are diets the siren that we just like cannot resist? Why do you think? I'm actually really curious in the chat. Why do you think that diets are the structure that we tend to go to the most? Catherine, you nailed it. It allows us to not have to think. It takes something that's complex and it makes it very simple. Do this, don't do that. Yes, we want someone to tell us what to do, Sadie. It sounds like a guarantee, Nancy. It like takes the risk out of us making decisions because someone just tells us what to do and then we just have to follow it. So on some level, we feel like it's easier to just follow the rules. Now, I want to have you answer this next question very honestly. There's no right answer to it, but I am curious what comes up for you. Because we go to diets because we feel like it's easier. So if I gave you the perfect meal plan that was made for you, it was gonna get you the results that you wanted, how long would you stick to it? Just honesty, straight up honesty. 1 week, 2 weeks, someone said forever, 2 days. I would stick to it for 3 months. For some, I'm seeing some forevers. Okay, I will be really honest with you. If you said forever, and you're really being honest with yourself, you might want to just hop off the training because you're probably not who I'm talking to. If you're like, I would just stick to it forever, then you should just go find that perfect meal plan and just stick to it. I'm talking to the people who know in their heart of hearts that even if it was perfect for them, they still struggle to stick to it. It might be easier mentally, but they wouldn't stick to it long term. And so, yes, until I got sick of it, Angela said. Good, yeah, that's for most people. So the question is why? If diets are easier and they feel easier and they have this allure to them, why don't they work for us? And the answer is that diets completely ignore how the human brain works. It completely ignores psychology. And ultimately, they create psychological rebellion, which we're gonna dive into. But first I wanna tell you a little bit of my story. Because I've been here and I've been on the cycle that a lot of you are on. I have 4 kids, I didn't mention that before, but I have 4 kids, so I've gone through pregnancies and my body doing different shapes and sizes. And after I took this photo, I looked at it and said, okay, it's time to make a change, Amber. Like we need to get our butt in gear and make a change. And so for me, the diet that I tended to jump onto was eating clean. That for me was like what I always went to. So I decided it's time to eat clean, Amber. Monday, we're gonna start and we're gonna dive in. And so I would do really well on Monday. You know, someone would invite me out, but I'd say no, even though I wanted to go. Tuesday, I would be able to close the freezer and not eat the ice cream in there because that wasn't clean, and so on and so forth. I would make decisions all week long, a little bit like, I wanna do that, but I'm not going to. I wanna do that, but I shouldn't eat that. I wanna eat that, but it's not clean, so I can't do that. And I could do that until about Friday. And then Friday would come, and inevitably there would be something that would throw me off. My friends would invite me out, my husband would want to go out to dinner, somebody would drop off some food, and there was that moment where I broke. It was like all the pressure from the week built up and I just couldn't do it anymore, and I would eat a slice of pizza or eat a little bit of ice cream. And very, very quickly, the guilt and the shame would come crashing down onto me because I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. And I got in my head and I would say, Amber, if you really want results, why can't you stick to this? And then because I had that guilt and shame, it kind of exploded and it was like, I gotta get everything in because I know Monday, I gotta start back on it. Because who starts a diet on anything other than a Monday, am I right? And so I would binge over the weekend and then I would start again Monday. And this time it was gonna be different. Why? Well, I don't know, it was just gonna be different. I was gonna do better. I was gonna say no. I was gonna hold faster to the rules. I was gonna follow through better. It was that important to me. But it just continued, that cycle, over and over and over again for many, 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 many weeks. And what I didn't understand was that everything that I was trying to do to lose weight was completely ignoring human psychology. And it was no wonder that I was stuck in a cycle that I couldn't get out of. So why does this cycle happen to all of us? Yeah, Amy said this is me to a T. So why does this cycle happen to so many of us? It's because diets trigger 3 psychological responses that all but guarantee your failure. So let me show you some of the ways that our brain tends to fight back against diets. Number 1 is it tends to push us very easily into all or nothing thinking or perfectionism. Now, all or nothing thinking is a very human phenomenon. It's a very human brain phenomenon, and there's an evolutionary reason for it. Our brain takes in thousands and thousands of inputs every day. And it has to be able to synthesize all those inputs and use shortcuts to break it down into something a little bit less complex. And so our brain does this on a day-to-day basis, takes in tons of inputs and then simplifies it, takes in tons of inputs and simplifies it. That's not really a problem. The problem becomes when we get to oversimplification. When we take complex things and we break them into binaries. Black, white, yes, no, good, bad, healthy, unhealthy. So that oversimplification is what we call all or nothing thinking, where it's like, I'm either on or I'm off. I have to be perfect. I have to follow through with these black and white categories. And the problem is that diets just exploit this. It's like a highway for our brain to go into all or nothing thinking. Because with diets, there's rules. It's like good and bad. Eat this, don't eat that. And then the next step is the real problem. It's like, not only do we have good and bad foods, but now if I eat the good food, I'm good. And if I eat the bad food, I'm bad. So food becomes a moral question, a moral issue. And that produces a whole lot of guilt and shame. When you mess up, it feels like you failed completely, not only on your nutrition, but morally. It triggers that shame cycle. It triggers the screw it. It triggers the throw in the towel mindset. It creates self-judgment, and it never, ever, ever will lead to a positive change. Brené Brown's done a lot of research on shame. Shame is not anything that's ever going to promote positive change. And this is a cycle that so many of us get sucked into so easily because of our human brains. So this is changeable. And we can get out of all or nothing thinking. It is something that we can work with our brain to get out. And that is exactly what Holly did. These photos of Holly are a year apart. And one of the biggest differences here is that Holly learned to work with her body. Previous to this experience of working with me, she would get stuck in that perfectionistic mindset. If life got busy, if she couldn't do it all, she would just quit and restart again. And that starting and stopping and restarting is a path that many of you are familiar with. You've done it a million times. Start, get excited, start, feel all fresh, this is gonna be different. It's not, and have to restart again. One of the things that Holly embraced, that I'm gonna encourage you to embrace as well, is something is better than nothing. That was something that Holly learned, that she really embraced and really started to implement. Something is better than nothing. And then something else that I want to offer for you, for those of you who find yourself stuck in the same pattern as Holly, of starting and stopping and restarting again, and never feeling like you're making any quantifiable progress, is this. You are never restarting. You are simply starting again. And if you do it right, you're starting with more experience and more knowledge than you did last time. Imagine you were running a marathon and you were 13 miles through the marathon and you had to take a break. Would you have to go over and restart the marathon back at the beginning? Or would those 13 miles you had already run, you'd already covered, we didn't have to go back and do that again. We just need to keep moving forward. And this is something I want to offer to a lot of you. You are not restarting. Stop saying that. You're not starting over. Stop saying that. Your words have power. What are you doing? You're starting again. And if you learned lessons and if you had experience, we're going to bring those with us. We're going to bring that with us and we're going to do better moving forward. But you got to stop saying that you're starting over, because you're not. Okay, so we talked about how our brain, diets really make our brain go into that all or nothing, that perfectionistic mindset thinking. The second thing that diets do is that they weaken our decision-making skills. And this was the experience that Erica had. So Erica came to me, she had a meal plan that she was following, and it was actually working for her. The meal plan, she was getting results, but she had a problem. And she was kind of stuck in her weight loss journey. And her problem was that when she was on the meal plan, did great. But then work would get busy, she'd have to travel, she'd get tired of what she was eating, and it was like after that happened, all the wheels were off. She had no idea what to do next. It was like driving without a GPS, because she went from like rigid structure to no structure at all. And so Erica needed to figure out how to break through this plateau. And the answer for her, I helped her to understand, was not that she needed to just stick to the meal plan more frequently. What Erica needed and what I was able to help facilitate for her was learning to make decisions she was proud of. Learning to start to trust herself in those situations where she didn't have the rigid structure of the meal plan. And when she learned that skill, she could choose to follow the meal plan. That could sometimes make her life easier. But when she wasn't able to do that, she had built those skills and that trust in herself to be able to make those decisions. And so I think it's really important to understand, and this is something I think a lot of people don't realize, is you're walking around saying, I want to trust myself around food, but then always looking to somebody else to tell you what to eat. How are you supposed to build trust with yourself when you're always looking for somebody else and external rules and diets to just tell you what to do? It's like anything else. If you don't practice making decisions, if you don't practice making choices, you're going to lose that skill. And some of you have never developed that skill because you've just jumped from diet to diet to diet, and you have no skills to be able to make decisions with your food. So diets, what they do really well is give you rigid rules. What they do very poorly is teach you to think and teach you to choose. Now I get it, there's an ease with that. Just tell me what to eat. I get that it feels easier, but the cost is that your decision-making capacity weakens and you don't trust yourself around food anymore. So then when the diet ends, or when you go off plan, or when you go on vacation, you feel lost and you can't guide yourself without the rules. You have no decision-making capacity. Number 3 is a term called psychological reactance. Humans need freedom. It is a core human need. Autonomy and freedom are a core human need that we have. And when something threatens our freedom, our brain automatically rebels. This is just an automatic function of our brain. And so when we have these strict rules that we're trying to follow, it feels like control. It feels suffocating. And it feels like it's taking away all of our choices. And if you think about your teenage daughter, and if your teenage daughter was dating a boy that you did not like, and you said, you are not allowed to see that boy anymore, would her desire to see that boy go up or down? Up. Because she feels like her autonomy is being taken away. She feels like you're trying to control her, so now she only wants it more. And so what happens with diets, that the tighter the rules are, the stronger the urge to rebel against them is. And we create this rebellion and restriction cycle. It's the classic pendulum. We swing all the way over to restriction, restrict, 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 until we can't handle it anymore, and then we let go and we rebel. And then we get our act together, start again, and we pull back on that pendulum back to the restrict until we can't do it anymore, and then we rebel. And this is the pattern that Katie found herself in. And maybe some of you guys can relate. Katie had tried every diet, and she had developed a pattern of restricting and binging. So she would restrict on the weekdays, binge on the weekends, wash, rinse, repeat. And Katie came to me and said, these are her words, not mine. She said, I have a terrible relationship with food. She was on this pendulum, restrict, binge, and she could not find a way out of it. When we worked together, she was able to stop the pendulum, swinging back and forth, and she was able to lose 50 pounds in 6 months. The difference is that she finally trusted herself around food. Now, something I want to talk about with the pendulum that's really important to point out, because this is a pendulum a lot of you guys are on. We restrict until we can't do it anymore, and then we rebel. And then the solution that we come to is that I just need to restrict better. I just need to hold on better. And so what we do is we pull the pendulum back even further. And then we wonder why, when we finally let go, we swing even further to the other side. So this pendulum does not get better by restricting better. It actually gets better by restricting less, which is so counterintuitive for most of us to think about. So hopefully you're seeing these are 3 ways that your brain is always going to fight against diets. It fights against diets because it pushes us into that all or nothing thinking, which is no good for us. It pushes us into not being able to make decisions for ourselves, and it pushes us into that psychological reactance, where you build pressure until you rebel. It's almost like a soda bottle, where it's like, and I had this experience, where it's like I could tell myself no many times, But it was like each time was like shaking the soda bottle just a little bit. And every time it would build pressure and build pressure and build pressure until eventually it would explode. When these three psychological responses work together, you get trapped in this cycle where you have two choices and they both suck. These are the two choices that you have. Number one, you can follow the rules. So when there are rules, you can follow them, you can be good, you can do what you're told, and I call this compliance. Now, how does compliance feel? Sometimes it can feel okay, but eventually you get to the point where you're at a birthday party, everyone else is eating cake, but you can't because you can't eat sugar, but you want to. And so you sit there thinking about it, you white knuckle your way through the whole experience because you're being good, you're following the rules. That's the experience that a lot of us have with compliance. So eventually that pressure, just like shaking that soda bottle, the pressure has to go somewhere and you swing to the other side, which we call defiance. Now you're not just having one piece of cake, you're eating half the cake because you've been deprived for so long. Now here, listen up, this is so important. Because a lot of times we think compliance is restriction and defiance is freedom, but it's not. In both situations, the diet is still controlling you. When you're following the rules, obviously the diet is still in charge. But when you're rebelling against the rules, the diet is still in charge, you're just doing the opposite of what the diet says. Either way, you're not the true decision maker in your life, you're stuck on this pendulum. And that pendulum will never stop swinging as long as somebody else is making the rules for your life. This is not a you problem. It's a psychology problem. Diets do not work with the human brain. And so hopefully we've gotten you to the point where that siren, that X, that alluring X, you can close the door on it. You can kick it to the curb and you can say, it does not work. I can move on knowing that that's not the solution. So if diets create all the psychological rebellion in our brains, and we want to work with our brains, because I don't think your brain's going anywhere, what do we do in terms of tools? Because you know what also doesn't really work? Doing whatever you want. I've tried that. I gained 15 pounds doing that. So just throwing your hands up and doing whatever you want is not going to be the solution. So we do need a tool, but we need a tool that's going to work with our brains. And so we need a tool that does provide structure. Because we actually don't like chaos. We don't like just like complete, we want freedom and autonomy, but we don't want complete freedom. Our brain loves to have things broken down into structure. So we do need some structure, but we need it with flexibility. And this is such an essential part. We need it without threatening our freedom and without threatening our autonomy. So we're going to get to this. I promise more is coming on how do we create a tool that we can utilize that fits this structure. But before we do that, I said at the beginning that we need a good tool and we need a good mindset. So let's talk a little bit about a mindset that I see a lot of people stuck in that is not helping you in the slightest. This is what I call the sneaky mindset of try. How many times have you said, I'm going to try to eat better this week? I'm going to try to work out more this week. Why do we phrase it that way? What do you think? Why do we say, I'm going to try? I'm curious. Catherine, you're on it today. Catherine says it gives us an out. Yeah, it gives us an out. Lack of trust in yourself. We don't want to fail. Yep. We don't want to make promises that we can't keep or we feel like we're not going to keep because we don't believe we can, Mona. That's right. Denise, so we don't disappoint ourselves if we fail. That's exactly right. It makes sense. It is very psychologically protective to say, I'll try. And our human brains prioritize safety. It does not prioritize your success. And so if you don't take ownership of the outcome, you protect yourself from disappointment, from accountability, from failure. And so what we do is we straddle. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like you have a fence with 2 yards, and you're like on top of the fence, which is a very uncomfortable place to be, and it's a place that a lot of you are sitting in discomfort, straddling, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So psychologically, it feels safer, but there's a cost. Do you know what the cost to that psychological safety is? What do you think? Yep, bingo. Success. The cost is success. So it makes you feel safer. It makes it feel like you're protecting yourself. But the price you have to pay for that is the success that you say that you want. Because how do you show up when you say, I'm going to try? You basically like show up and you'll do it until it becomes hard, until it becomes inconvenient. And nobody ever got success by only doing it when it was convenient. So I want you to start to consider that if you are starting something already predicting to fail, you're only increasing the likelihood of that happening. And that's exactly how a lot of us are stuck in this pattern. We don't believe in ourselves anymore. We don't believe that we can be successful, and so we straddle. And I get why it happens, but it's costing you the success that you say that you want. It has to change if you want to actually be successful long term. So how do we get out of this? It's really important to understand the solution to getting out of this is actually honesty. That's a really weird thing to say, Amber. Let me explain. It is being honest with yourself of if you're going to step in or step out. So, option number 1 is you can step fully in. I want this, I choose this, I'm willing to do what it takes. That's you stepping fully in to commitment, not straddling anymore. The other option is also perfectly fine. And it is the honest option of I'm not going to do this. I'm not ready yet. I am not ready to change. I'm not going to follow through on this. I'm not going to do it. Now, I need you to hear me. Both of these are perfectly fine options. I mean, one's going to get you more results than the other, but I would rather you be honest with yourself about what you're really willing to do to get results and stop straddling. The reason that this is so important is because when you stop straddling and you either commit or you step fully out, something happens in your brain. When you step fully in and you commit, your brain actually shifts into problem-solving mode. I'm going to work out 3 days this week. Now you've given your brain a command and it starts going, okay, when are we going to work out? We're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh, Wednesday, remember you have that meeting? Okay, well, I'm going to do it after the meeting, right? You get into problem-solving mode because you've made a decision. When you say, I'll try to work out more, your brain does nothing because you didn't actually decide anything. You just put a wish out into the world and it just floats a while away. There's no problem-solving mode. And when you're honest about not being ready, you step fully out, that's really powerful too. Because now you're not wasting time and energy on things that you're not committed to, and you can focus on the things that you are willing to commit to. My guess is, for all of you who are listening, there are things you're willing to do and things you aren't willing to do. And I actually think being honest about the things you're willing to do and also being honest about the things you're not willing to do is one of the things that's going to help you to be more successful than almost anything else when it comes to your mindset. Friends, it is just like Yoda said.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Master Yoda said it better than I could. So here's your challenge if you choose to accept it. It is to banish the word try from your vocabulary in literally every situation that you're in. And really honestly, when those words just have the tendency to roll off your tongue, to replace it and ask yourself, am I stepping in or stepping out? I will do this or I won't commit to that. Step in, step out. Stop straddling. Stop giving yourself an out. Be honest with yourself. I am willing to do it or I'm not willing to do it. And so I would love to hear how this goes. This is going to be your challenge and your homework assignment. Is think about something that you've been trying to do. that you've been like solidly in that, like I'm trying to do this thing, and decide if you're willing to step in and step out. So pick something you've been straddling and decide to fully step into it. Then once you do that, I want you to reflect on that experience. What happened for you? What shifted in how you approached it? Did you plan differently? Did you problem solve? Did you show up differently? Was there a different experience for you? And then what did you notice about your follow through? How did that impact you? And then what I would love to do is have us share as a community this experience. So we have a Facebook group. You can share in the Facebook group. I have an Instagram account. We'll put up a post in Instagram. But I want you to share your experience because I think there's so much power when we come together and we do something that's kind of hard together. There is momentum that is built with that. So that's your challenge should you choose to accept it. Now, a little bit of a quick recap before we talk about what we're going to learn next time. So today we talked about how if you want to reach your goals, you need the right tool and the right mindset. We talked about how diets got to get kicked to the curb. That's the X we're never going back to. We'll never, ever, ever getting back together. Kind of throwing a little Taylor Swift. So diets are not the right tool because they don't work with your brain. And compliance feels restrictive. It builds pressure just like that soda bottle until you eventually are going to rebel. And that keeps you stuck in this pendulum that never stops swinging. So now you intellectually know what you've probably already known in your heart of why diets fail. Not because you're broken, not because you suck, not because you need more motivation or you're lazy, but because the system literally does not work with your brain. We also talked about the mindset that does not work and will keep you stuck if you stay in it, and that is the mindset of I'll try. I will puts you into problem-solving mode. Committing puts you into problem-solving mode. And so this is where we either commit or be honest that you're not ready yet and step fully out. Either one of those options is more honest and better than hedging. So today we've gotten clear on what doesn't work. Trying, diets, kick them to the curb, right? So then what is the right tool and how do we pair that with the right mindset? That is what I'm going to be talking about in the next training on Tuesday. That'll be training number 2. I'll be talking about how do we create structure and flexibility, and then how do you pair that with the right mindset that you need if you want to be able to reach your goals. Now, the tool, this is a little secret, the tool I'm going to be talking about is macro counting. And maybe you've heard of that before, maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe you've tried it, maybe you've done it for years, okay? What I can guarantee is that you've never seen it taught the way that I teach it. Because most people, if I'm being honest, turn macro counting into a diet. It just has slightly different rules. It's like a diet with a different color. But when we understand how to utilize that tool correctly and we pair it with the right mindset, it becomes the complete opposite. It becomes something that sets you free from dieting, allows you to learn to be able to make decisions and learn to trust yourself and get the results that you want. So we figured out what doesn't work, and if you're ready to figure out what does, I will see you next Tuesday for training 2 of the Diet Rebellion. See ya.